So now that you've cleaned your Kimber BP 10-2 and oiled up the appropriate parts, it's time to put it back together. And you'll find the hardest part of putting this back together is getting the firing pin stop to slide into the extractor plug and push over top of the pin, which will go over here, push over the firing pin, which will go over here in a few minutes. It will probably take you a few times initially, but the technique that I use to do it, I found is the most successful of anything that I've tried. I don't know if they make a tool for doing this or not. If they do, please let me know, because I'm sure the way I'm doing it is much harder than if they have created a tool for it. So what we do first is put the firing pin spring back on the firing pin. And so I look at the firing pin spring here, and the end of the firing pin spring that goes at the base of the firing pin has the coils closer together. So you'll see there's less space between the coils on one end of the spring, and this end actually seats itself at the base of the firing pin. You just kind of turn it till it seats itself on there. Great. And now you push down on this, what I call a safety device. It just keeps the firing pin from coming out. You push down on that and the firing pin just drops right into place, like such. And again, the safety mechanism is right on there. Putting pressure in there at this point in time would discharge the firing pin, so just avoid touching that. Now we want to put the extractor pieces back together. So you have the extractor itself. It fits in here pretty simply. There's only one way it can really go, and you'll see it just lines up perfectly on there, just drops right in. Then you have the firing pin spring and the plunger that go together, and you'll just place that right in, and then you'll see it lock into place in here too. It might be kind of hard to see it, but it will actually lock the extractor in place. The plunger works to lock it in place, and then the plug works to put pressure on the spring, which puts pressure on the plunger and makes sure the extractor doesn't come out of place. So now's the hard part. We have the spring in place, firing pin in place, and then we have the plug ready to go down, and both of them will be locked in place by the firing pin stop. And this is what becomes difficult, because you have to push down on you have to push the safety, which is what I'm calling the safety, what allows the firing pin to go down and prevents the firing pin from discharging out the back of the gun here, back of the slide. So you push down on the safety as you're pushing down on the firing pin and pushing down on the extractor plug, and then you slide the firing pin stop up over the firing pin, and it'll lock into the extractor notch. So sometimes this can take a few times. Don't get too discouraged if it does. It may even take me a few times here, and I've done this quite a few times. So yeah, let me push down on the safety and then push down on the firing spring with my 6mm Allen, and there you go. Lock the plug into place. Went right over is sitting right over the firing pin, and you'll see as I slide it into place, it'll just lock right over the firing pin, which is exactly what you want. Like I said, this is the hardest part, and I do use 6mm Allen to make it easier. So now we'll seat the barrel. So you just make sure that the barrel link is flat. You slide it back in through the slide, and you'll feel it seat, and it won't move anywhere. Once it's seated, you go ahead and flip the barrel link so it's vertical, and then you'll put the recoil rod in. The recoil spring, same thing as the other spring. You just do it so the end that has coils closest together goes toward the base of the recoil spring. So you turn it until it's seated tightly on the recoil rod. So we have the barrel link vertical, we have the recoil spring in and top of the recoil rod. So we're ready to slide this back on. So as you're sliding this back on, putting the slide back on, you'll notice you meet a little bit of resistance. You turn the gun over and you realize that this resistance is caused by the hand safety. So you just push down here with your finger. You can see there's a little safety here. You don't want to force the gun back, otherwise you'll shear the safety bump right off. So you just have to push it down, not be touching the safety, and it'll just slide back very easy. Then what you want to do is put the slide stop back in, and the slide stop, this part of it will slide or fit right into there, and it'll actually go through the barrel link. So you want to get a real good look at this. Make sure that you're lined up with the barrel link, which I am. So I'm going to slide this in. Once you have that in, you can slide or pull the slide back until the disassembly notch is lined up with the back of the slide stop. And I like to do this pretty quick and use a lot of pressure, because otherwise you get this stuck about halfway. So you just put pressure on it, it snaps right back into place. Very easy. And the last part of it is putting the spring plug on. So I just dropped the spring plug over top of the spring, and I'll get the barrel bushing ready. So I'll put the barrel bushing over top of the barrel. I'll start on the side of it's actually in the clockwise portion of the gun that we were talking about earlier, and then or counterclockwise rather, part of the gun. Then I'll move this clockwise past the spring to rest, just like that. So I just show you again. This only makes it about a quarter way up. It won't turn any further than that, so you actually need to get it to the other side of the gun. So you just swing it over like that, and we can just rest it there. I'm going to put pressure on this spring plug, push it all the way back, and then drop the barrel bushing right over top of that to hold it into place. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. I actually do it by hand first. I just press down like that, and you can lock it into place. That's how I do it. I just initially lock it into place. It's not going anywhere. This barrel bushing has to slide all the way over to the other side to come off, so it's actually firmly in place right now. I feel pretty confident doing it in this position, but I have in the past, when I was figuring out this gun, lost the barrel bushing, and I had the spring plug fly across the room a few times. Now it's very simple. You just take the 6mm hex wrench, put some pressure down on the spring plug, and turn the barrel bushing until it's in place, and you've reassembled the gun. So you've pretty much can do this real quick if you can get over, or if you can get down the part of putting in the extractor, well, you're pushing down the pin and putting the firing pin stop into place. Hardest part of this gun. Otherwise a fantastic gun. Like I said, I love it. Take it shooting a lot, and it's fairly affordable for a Kimber. A little big to conceal, but a really fantastic gun for the price. $500 to $600 in a lot of auction sites. I maybe mentioned that earlier. A lot of people aren't a fan of the polymer, kind of high composite plastics, but this is a fairly light gun as well, for better or worse. So that's my take on it. Thanks for watching the video on assembly and disassembly.